Now, Erasmus is the next part of the session. The Erasmus programme has been running for, I don't know, maybe about 15 years or so in the province. And for those people who don't know very much about it, it's quite simple. It's an exchange programme. Students from Europe exchange with students from the UK, and they complete a year of study at a foreign university as a result, as part of the degree programme. At this university, it's open to students on architecture and planning, and students on interior architecture for the moment, but we will be opening it up in due course, no doubt, to the other degrees as well. One of the things that you have to be careful of with Erasmus is making sure, of course, that any accreditation, like RIBA, RTPI, all those sorts of things, any accreditation isn't lost for the student going abroad. So it's very carefully set up so that the work you do abroad is comparable to the work that you would have done had you stayed here for your particular year. So there's nothing to worry about in terms of accreditation. That works really smoothly. It's open to students in the third year of study. So for AP, that's year 3. For IA students, that's also year 3, and then you come back and do a 4th year. So for IA students, if you're in a normally a 3-year degree, your degree becomes a 4-year degree. And for AP students, it stays the same. It's a 4-year degree. So roughly that's how it works. We've got links with universities all around Europe, and we're expanding that network. Spain, France, Italy, Germany, Turkey, and other places as well. So that's a really big choice of universities that you can go to. And I know all the members of staff, my equivalents there. I'm the academic coordinator here, and we have academic coordinators in each of those other universities. So the network is well established, the whole scheme works well. I'm not going to describe the whole scheme to you now, because I run a separate session for people who are interested in the Erasmus scheme, and I'll be doing that via the second year studio in due course. Yeah. So that will happen in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. So what I'm not going to do, and what this session isn't about really, is about the sort of process of and my role in it. What it's much more about, and probably much more interesting as a result, is actually about students' experience who've been on Erasmus. And we've got some students here who've been, done it, tasted Erasmus, and now they've come back. They went last year, they've come back, and they're very happy to, and I'm very glad that they are, sharing that experience with you. And one of the things that I think is important is they share the things that went well and the things that went badly. Nothing in life ever works fully. So I think it's good when things don't go wrong, that we all learn from that. So it'll be nice for you to hear all the good things they got up to, but also the difficulties you encounter when you go and study in a different culture. And I think, rather like Harry said about Uganda, it's not for the faint-hearted. Erasmus is for people who can stand on their own feet and are prepared to work out solutions to problems as they arise. So I think, in a sense, it's a brilliant cultural experience. It isn't UWE abroad, yeah? But it's the same outcome of education, if not more, in a sense, because you're doing it somewhere else. But it's for people who understand that going to Italy isn't like being in Bristol, or going to Paris isn't like being in UWE. And these guys have experienced it, so there's no one better really to talk to about it. And it's a pleasure to introduce them. They're all now back and in the 4th year studio, which is very nice for as well, and they no doubt can tell you how the work abroad helps or doesn't help their work in the 4th year. So it's really over to them. And I don't know who's going to start. Is it you, Ollie? Who's going to start? I see the book has moved.
Yes.
Yeah. So Ollie will start, and then no doubt each in turn will tell you about their experiences. And of course, ask them questions. But if you have questions about the process, how to apply, all those sorts of things, I will be talking to you in the next couple of weeks via your messages and all about it. There is one great big disadvantage of doing Erasmus, and it means that you won't be in my 30th student, which I think must be the worst bit of it. But you catch up for me in the fourth year, so all is not lost. But over to Ollie and everyone else to talk about their experiences abroad last year. Ollie, go to you.
Well, hello everyone. As Mike said, my name's Ollie, and I was in Paris last year. It was an amazing experience. I was lucky enough that my grandparents drove me down. They drove me down to Paris, and I remember just as the Eiffel Tower came into view, I looked over and I said to them, for the rest of my life I'm going to be wishing that I could come back to this exact moment where I'm just starting this experience again. And it is so true. The city itself was amazing, and I can easily say, as I'm sure these guys will as well, it was the best year of my life. To talk about what Mike said, he said it's not UWE abroad, which is very true. It's a bureaucratic nightmare. The university is run very differently, not necessarily in a bad way, but I think the organisation of courses, the biggest single difference is that you pick your courses. You're not prescribed, 5 or so modules as it is here in the UK. If you were thinking of going to France, you need to be working on your French ASAP, as quickly as possible. There is quite literally no way around to get it. All of the courses are taught in French. My French sucks, like really sucks. But it was just enough to scrape by, thank God. Paris as a city as well was so cool because you almost cannot walk down a street without being amazed by something, whether it's like a mural or some like crazy type of architecture, or the people you meet, the cafes that you get there are everywhere. The food is outstanding, the culture amazing, and something I'll really remember for a long time. If you are thinking about going abroad, the grant schemes that are available are super generous. You could be collecting money from you get money from the EU, from student finance. Specifically to France, you're eligible for something called CAF, which is a housing allowance. Travel grants are paid as well. So you have to pay the first £303 of your travel back to the UK. And then everything over that is paid for, which is awesome. That kicks ass. Any travel from where you're staying in that country and your university is paid for. So I found out at the end of the year that I could collect for all of my metro tickets for the entire year. So that was, some awesome little cash lump sum at the end. Right, anyway, the school, La Valette, that we find in Paris. The photo here is of a room called Salle 100, which is room 100. And it's an amazing, it's a really cool space. It's a real super studio. And not to say that the one upstairs isn't, but it's about 3 times the size of this room. It's just wall-to-wall tables, internet points, basically everything you need. It's architecture students' heaven. The teaching style in France I found to be quite different. The first semester for my studio, so in my first semester I took studio and then 4 or 5 additional little courses. I'll just talk briefly about the studio. It was a very prescribed form of, when you're having a crit, it was really, they were very strict about the type of architecture that you were allowed to produce. And it was cool and I enjoyed it. It wasn't something that I was used to, but I think having that style meant that the lecturer's style, it was very easy for all the students in the class to adopt it, and it turned out that a lot of the architecture that we produced was very similar, but a very simple answer to the questions that were asked. The second studio was this is in the second semester, was considerably based on theoretical planning and urbanism. And it was a lot more open for interpretation, which was it was a nice twist as well. The way they sort of complemented each other, and you get tons and tons of like funny little courses that you can take, and you have to fill a certain amount of ECTS, which are the credits that you have to take. You have to hit 60 or so. You have to hit 60, and I think the most peculiar little course I took was called Dimanche Plastique, and it was based around repair. So it was repairing at 3 different scales. The first of which was an object. And I struggled with this. I wasn't really sure what to do. So I broke a glass bottle and then repaired it and then glued it all back together. The second set was repairing the body, and I was so confused about how you do that, as was everybody else in the class, but I ended up giving a 15-minute meditation class in French to 10 or so students. It was crazy, and for the final part of it was repairing the city, where we did what I imagine. I've never seen grand designs live, but I think it should be. We built a house out of paper. We got somebody's house built at scale 1:1, and then we're just like cutting down walls and windows and just like this really speedy thing. So yeah, the additional funny little courses that you find were one of the most charming aspects of the course, I think. But anyway, on to Nick with Milan.
Thank you, Ollie. Yeah, my name's Nicholas. Myself and Giles went to Milan last year. Just to, again, reiterate, it's such an amazing experience. As Ollie said, I personally would do it again and again if I could. So if you're interested, definitely apply. If you do get in, you don't have to fulfill and continue that. You can pull up. Obviously, if you do apply and you do take a space, consider that as a space not taken by someone else. And when you do apply, make sure you make it clear you are someone who can take on this experience of being in a different culture. It's very important. They don't want to send someone abroad if you're not willing to show you can live different ways and accept different culture and customs. So we went to Milan, and I'll talk a little about the city. If anyone's been to Milan, you'd know what I mean when I say it's it's amazing atmosphere, full of culture, full of things to do. The top picture is of the Duomo and the Piazza, which is one of the focal points of the city. Unbelievable scale, nothing like it in the UK. You need to go there and experience it firsthand. It's unbelievable. The transport in Milan is very good, probably the same in Paris, I expect. They offer €22 a month for a travel card, and that gets you on the metro, on the tram, on the bus. Without a doubt, you'll definitely be using that. It's an excellent scheme. Food and drink's incredible. Everyone knows what Italian food is like, but there's also other cuisines out there. Sushi is their second biggest favourable one.
It's not a typical Italian city. It's quite like a European answer to a kind of like Italian city. Like you go to like Venice or you go to Rome and you can tell you're in Italy. You go to Milan and it's not overtly beautiful, but obviously there are beautiful parts. It's still kind of like a really urban city.
Yeah. One thing I really liked about the city is its location in Europe. Because it's central to, it borders 4 different countries and it's central to Europe in itself. If you do get the time and money to go explore Europe in your spare time, you can do so with great ease and at low cost. I went to Budapest for 3 days for €60 return in March, and that's to show how much you can do in a short space of time.
And you went to Rome, didn't you?
They have Megabus in Italy now. I don't know what it's like in the UK, I've never used it, but in Italy it's actually really good. I took €4 for a single from Milan to Rome. Obviously Rome's at the very bottom of Italy, that was a 9-hour trip, just to put in perspective of the travel. Definitely worth it, €4. Stayed there for 2 nights, came back for €6. A great city to be in terms of travel in Europe and in Italy. So one thing I like to highlight, which is very important that you do before, well obviously you apply, if you're accepted, great. First priority is get your accommodation sorted before you consider your flights or your entry to the country. One of us who isn't here today didn't do this, and he was in a hostel for nearly 2 months. Whilst the semester started, you don't want to be doing that, looking for a place, because one is the good place to go, and two, it's stress. You've got architecture course, and you don't want to be looking for a house. With the rooms, you can see here I've got shared room and individual. In Milan, it's very common to have a shared room, and by that I mean I would be living in the room and Giles would be living in the same room. Double bed, single bed, doesn't matter. You'd be in the same space as someone else, and you obviously won't know them. That's something to consider. That's probably the most popular style of accommodation, and if you don't find one quick enough, you'd be put up with one of those. I didn't want that to be the case. I sorted out my accommodation in July, got it sorted. We were really lucky because the people who was from UWE near above us were there before us. They gave us our accommodation, quite kind of smooth.
Like hassle-free.
Unfortunately for you guys, there's no one in Milan this year. I don't know why that is. It's a great place to go. There's 4 places, no one filled it. Maybe Mike didn't let people go, maybe no one wanted to go. But you will have a situation where you have to go more out there and find people to give you the rooms. There's three Facebook groups. I'll take note of it. If you can't take note now, I can give you that after. There are Facebook pages that are really good to become a friend, and you can talk through there about your proposal to move to the country, and there'll be places to get in. And the tax code is something you need to do when you get there, but I guess that'll be more on that when you get to Milan itself. The university.
So in terms of the uni, and in terms of the actual courses you can pick tons. You can pick master's modules, you can pick furniture design, you can pick interior, more master planning, more kind of art. And like Ollie was saying, you have 60 credits to fill. I'm not sure your situation, but you have to do your dissertation whilst being out there, and that takes 7.5 credits. You've got a couple credits to play with basically, and each semester you pick your modules. Typically you pick one studio and maybe 3 kind of supplementary courses or whatever. In terms of when you actually pick the studios and the classes, it's all group work, which obviously quite differs from here. Here there's a bit of group work, but there it's group work continuously, which can be good in some regards because you get people with different specialities who kind of know how to do different things, and you feed off them and you learn. And whatever kind of studio you pick has a different emphasis. So, for example, if you pick a technical studio, you will be required to learn Grasshopper or Rhino, in my case. In terms of the exams, they're all oral, all kind of presentation exams. You do have a few written, but I didn't do any. And it's quite strange. I had a module where I had to read a series of books and had to kind of present what I learned from the books to the lecturer. It was quite strange, really odd. One thing to take note about Milan is that there's no computers on campus, so you will have to have an app to scratch, laptop.
I definitely felt that. Like Giles said, no computers, so if you don't have a laptop that is powerful enough or good enough to take in the new software you'll be taking in the studies in Milan, you will struggle, and I did. I managed, but it was horrible, it was stressful, it slowed me down.
Yeah.
So if you do consider buying or investing in something this summer, a powerful laptop.
So I'm going to quickly run through a few of the studios I did. This being more conceptual, going to a more kind of technical, to a more kind of master plan type of studio. So this studio was all about kind of finding relationships and extracting those relationships, really conceptual. Our site was based in Matalascania, which is in Spain. And as you can see, we proposed, me and Nick both did the studio together, we proposed a independent archipelago, an individual island off the coast of Matalascania to alleviate some of the tourism pressures. So not very realistic, but also a great learning curve. So yeah, these were a few. Going on to this was a more kind of technical studio that we did. We had to design an expo pavilion for the expo that was happening in Milan. And basically the kind of ideas we had, we picked Morocco as a country, wanted to look at urban forms and networks rather than singular architecture. Really interesting. This one was heavily based on Grasshopper and Rhino. When I first started in Milan, I didn't know Grasshopper or Rhino, and it was a very steep learning curve. So yeah, to the image on the right is a code in Grasshopper, and that was just for one ward. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But a great experience, and I learned so much from being in that studio.
Don't let this phase you guys, because as Giles said, he didn't know this, and he took it on. And now he's here with a lot more experience than what he had before.
Definitely.
And you'll bring that back to your 4th year. Very beneficial.
So the main point I'm showing you through is that you kind of see the difference in visualization and representation, and hopefully you can tell which one's more conceptual, which one's more technical. And this obviously is the more master plan studio. So effectively what we had to do, we had to redesign the university campus. So over here is the university campus. It's kind of split, divided up into two. You have the architectural side, which is north, and towards the south is the more engineering side. So that was one of the struggles we had to deal with. And yeah, these are just the final kind of presentation things that we had to present when we were out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Alicante.
That might do.
Okay. So me and Andreas, we went to Alicante, which is in the region of Valencia in Spain. As you can tell from this photo, it was pretty much sunny all the time, apart from like 1 week where it rained intensely. Yeah, like what to say from it. So we paid about, together, maybe like 500 euros in rent every month. So that came out to be about £200, which is ridiculous. We were living like within 5 minutes of the beach. It's got 2 amazing beaches. One is just ridiculously long. The other one is like after lectures and stuff, you just like everyone goes to the beach and just chills. So it was definitely quite hard to get work done. Definitely I have to own up to that. But it was amazing. Like the city life was just incredible. It was like this castle and the views, and there was like islands off Alicante that you could get to very easy by ferry, and it was just it was pretty sweet.
What else can we say? Yeah, when we first heard of Alicante, I honestly didn't know where Alicante was or where it was. So I had Spain, and I was like, okay, I've never been to Spain. That sounds nice. It's not Paris, it's not Milan, it's not like big city. It's like population maybe 300,000, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not really big, and it seemed fascinating because, of course, of the weather, and it's located on the beach, yeah, as Alejandro said. Yeah, that's some pictures of the city, and it's got a castle, so it's really old city. It's got like a historic center with pedestrian streets, really narrow streets where you can walk, and there's bars, and there's all located in one neighborhood. So it's not like a big parties where you go out and now you're here and then you travel 30 minutes to go to the other bar or something. It's all in one area, and you go into that area and you know everybody, and you go to the bar and you know everybody again. So it's just closed. It's like this closed village, small village. You know? It's really nice experience. That view is interesting. The image on the bottom left, that's the view from the library, from the top of the library, which is amazing and you can see the Alicante is surrounded by mountains. So you've got the beach, you've got the sea, and then you've got mountains all around. So if you like hiking, you can go to the mountains, or you can go, traveling is really easy from there.
Yeah, the university is just located to the north of Alicante, so it's quite similar to UWE, how it's outside the city centre. So we'd have to get there by bus, and fortunately for us, the bus stop was just outside of our house, and so was the tram. Yeah, there's a really nice tram actually that's in Alicante, which is really cheap, and you can just get there to university really quickly and into other surrounding cities. The tram even goes all the way to Benidorm, so there's a few weekends obviously.
Yeah, it goes to Denia, which you can take a boat from there and go to Ibiza or,
Yeah, exactly. So traveling in Spain was actually really easy in some ways. There was an organization that kind of took us under their wing that was called ESN, which is Erasmus Student Network, and it's pretty much across all like Erasmus cities, I guess. But it was really like helpful to meet people because everyone's in the same boat and no one knows each other, apart from us two, like we're the only ones from UWE. So it was really helpful because they did like trips to Valencia, they did trips to Madrid, Barcelona and stuff. So you don't have to go with them. We did it in the early like year, but later on we kind of got to know people and just did our own trips. So BlaBlaCar, I don't know if you ever heard of BlaBlaCar. It's like an amazing thing. You get an app and it's car sharing and it's super cheap. Like I don't know, what was the big trip that you did with BlaBlaCar? Yeah, just to add on to Andreas, like language-wise, like you shouldn't really be scared of not going to a place without knowing the language. I know Ollie, like said, if you want to go to France, start learning. I definitely encourage that. But like just from Andreas's, like I knew Spanish, but being able to watch him kind of progress throughout the year, like by the end of the year, he was just completely fluent, not completely, but like was very much in that stage. So it was just actually amazing to see him how he picked it up, because at the beginning he was just, when Spanish people tried to talk to him, he'd try to like listen to it and see if there's any like similar Greek words or anything, but like he advanced in it and it was just really impressive. So I wouldn't say it's like a thing that you should put off if you don't know the language at all, especially if they have English modules.
It's a fantastic thing knowing another language.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. We met so many people knowing, I don't know, 5 or 6 languages, and they could communicate with everybody. It was fantastic. Knowing now 3 languages is amazing. Can always go back if you want. So we did modules. We did some more technical modules, some more pragmatic, and some more conceptual. Like let me go back to. So it was more of a conceptual project. This one. It was the first semester of studio. You can see the girl in the middle. That was she was in my group. And we had to take on this project. Alejandro was in the same class as well, but she did a different thing. You have it?
Yeah.
And that's our final project, what you see there. She's wearing a dress that we made. So we had to take on a disease or a disorder, a mental or physical, and we had to make a microarchitecture, as they called it. So when you wear that, you actually feel as you have that particular disorder or disease. And we took multiple sclerosis, and we, through all that analysis of the disorder, we ended up making this, that she wears it now, and she has to be really, really considerate when she's walking, not to break it, because if she breaks it, everything is gonna fall off. So it's kind of this, more conceptual, and yeah, it was a bit weird at start because we expected something completely different. We went there, started sketching buildings and stuff, and they were like, no.
Yeah, first semester was hard because we were very much came in with a U mindset of like, okay, buildings. We came out from like a housing project in second year onto this kind of thinking, and we were like, okay, when are we designing? When are we designing? When are we doing things? And yeah, we came out with stuff like this, and I'll show you if my one is there. Yeah, this is my version of the dress in a way, which was my group. We decided to do Parkinson's disease. So like as the symptoms developed of Parkinson's, this machine kind of prevented someone from walking, so it restricted their arm movement, restricted their leg movement, and it created like them to have a hunched back. So it was very different in the ways, but we tried to apply as much design as possible to that problem. So yeah, that was our first semester studio. We also had quite a bit of urban planning, which was kind of, I guess, quite heavily weighted in some ways, like the planning studio, because we did first semester planning and then second semester as well. They were completely 2 different, it wasn't a year long, it was 2 different projects, and it was all about, the first one was about linear projects, so it was about basically with a high street or a linear street in Alicante itself. So we were kind of thinking about the design of street furniture and daytime activity, nighttime activity, and all that comes along with it.
Yeah, it was interesting because we got into the really, really detailed, even the street furniture, and then we zoomed out, went to the second semester, and we had to regenerate like a whole town in Spain. So we had another site outside of Alicante, and we had to pick our own site, and kind of make a project out of that from what we've learned from the first semester. So it was really, really interesting. We really liked the planning there, and it was engaging. Can't say about we did some more artistic, more art-based modules as well. So we had a module where we did a lot of spray painting, and we had to deconstruct some buildings of the campus of our university and do really, really abstract drawings for deconstruction and abstraction, and so that was really interesting as well. We got to get out of the computer for a bit and get hands-on.
Yeah, I don't know what else. I think going to Q&A.
Yeah, I think we covered that.
Yeah.
We wanted to leave a little wedge of time at the end. If anybody's got any questions, which I'm sure there will be a couple. Anybody at all?
With regards to Milan, are there some niche?
Yeah, sorry, that's a good point to raise. Milan, there's probably 90% of the courses can be in English. All of mine were in English. If you feel confident in doing the Italian, you can, that's an option. There's, like Giles said, there's masters and there's bachelor. One thing to note is when you apply for your module, when you arrive, there's like a 10-day window, first come, first served basis. There's only a certain amount of Erasmus students that can get into each module. So if you're late, you might not get the ones you want. and that will obviously be stressful if you can't get any certain module, and if you're left with 1 or 2 Italian that you don't feel ready to, well, you're not expected to be ready in the first semester anyway, but there is an external language course you can take in the evenings. So yeah, any other questions?
Paris is obviously the best city to go to.
Yeah, so to round it up, Paris, you need to know French, basically.
I didn't know French when I arrived, just to be, well, I spoke, officially I did,
yeah.
but unofficially I did not.
The other 2 places, not so much, but it's encouraged to learn the language. Yeah.
What other cities are available? Or is it just
There is Bologna in Italy, but no one from our year went. I think there's 4 there now, currently.
I think Mike mentioned Turkey.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we didn't have Turkey, but
Yeah, we didn't.
I thought we had
I'm
Denmark.
not sure if that's I'm not
Yeah, but it
sure
was
what the
not-
difference is between interior architecture and architectural planning or architecture courses. But I guess Mike will come on to that with the application process.
It changes every year, the stuff that becomes available. So. The exchange rate's amazing as well. It's a really good reason to go because you get paid in sterling.
One thing, finances. This will cost you much less this year abroad. It won't cost you £9,000.
Oh, yeah.
It will cost you 1,350.
yeah.
So you save about
Save a
£7,500.
lot of money. And like
tuition fees.
Ollie said, the Erasmus grant and the scheme supplied with your Erasmus placement is very generous.
Yeah.
Like you apply for your grant, you get 30% there. You get 70% on arrival. You get 30% when you come back, which is nice to have. And like he said, you can apply for your travel. And when you come back, I got £900 in September from my travel grant. I keep all your receipts, flights into and out of the country, keep all your bus tickets and your train tickets, if you do get any in Italy or Alicante or Paris, keep them, or keep the emails, and then put them back into student finance and you get the money back.
even like the ones that you went travelling on?
Say again, sorry?
Even the ones that you
No, it's got to be up to 4, that's up to 4 journeys into different countries, so like Christmas, Easter,
Your most expensive ones.
yeah.
So speaking to, sorry mate.
Sorry?
Is it like regular terms?
There's 2 semesters. It's not like one, obviously like university here, but your modules are split between 1 semester and 2 semesters. You pick one module, your modules for the first semester, which end in February, you begin in March, you take that until July.
Speaking to a few people last year who didn't apply because they were scared of like missing out. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like you will gain so much more from going on Erasmus. So I feel like if you want to do it, you should apply. And obviously I'm biased towards Milan. I feel like I've learned so much, like a ridiculous amount from being in Milan. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
How do you feel coming back, like going into the course like 4th year? How's it going to be different to how it was last year? Like, are you struggling with it, or is it some parts which you brought to 4th year, which no one else has done?
I'd say my competence with, or me personally, my competence with like computer skills, I've definitely like brought that across. In Milan, I didn't really do much planning, litigation, reading, which is quite heavy in your 4th year, you will find out. So that's definitely the disparity, like people who stayed in 3rd year and learnt a lot of like planning laws and whatever, whereas like when we came, we didn't really have much of that. But I would definitely say we've learned like a lot.
It's definitely what you make of it. We have people who aren't here today, and they didn't learn as much as we did. It depends what student you are. Me personally, mirroring what Charles said, I mean, if you look at it this way, your degree's 4 years. You can do 3 in Bristol, do 1 abroad, do so. And I feel coming back to Bristol is a breath of fresh air for me to I've always loved uni in Bristol. I was excited to come back. I still miss Milan a lot, but I'm excited to be back here because the facilities, the tutoring and the way things work are better here as an institution. But as a cultural experience and a life experience, I had to take the opportunity, I couldn't miss it. Definitely better off for doing that, and I come back with a more broader spectrum of how things could work abroad if I was to go abroad and work. I can't say enough how much you need to sort of consider the benefits, definitely. They definitely outweigh the cons.
No,
I would say so.
there basically are no cons. Like,
Yeah, they're all there.
absolutely are no cons.
If you're homesick, I mean, if someone gets homesick, don't apply. But
Paris, Eurostar, bang. There you go. If you're homesick, go to Paris.
Any more questions? You've got 10 minutes, so there's no rush. Lawrence?
Can I just say, like, as someone who didn't go on Erasmus,
Yeah.
that these guys, like, as the nature of being picked on the Erasmus course, are like some of the best students in the year, and so they are like, without bumming them too much, like they are capable of coming back to the fourth year and like adapting from like making a dress to the coming back to the sort of like the UE way of doing architecture. But I'm actually, although like I completely agree, like you get amazing experiences, you learn languages, culture. Like the step up for me from second to third year was by far the biggest on the UE AP course. Like compared to first to second year and third to fourth year, it's just ridiculous, like monumental. And Mike will work you so hard and you'll learn so much. So like I don't want to discourage you from doing Erasmus. I'm just saying, doing third year at UE, I learned so much, and I don't think I would be able to do fourth year if I hadn't done it. I'm not like one of those guys. You know what I mean? Like I needed that learning curve at that time in my course, and these guys could. So it just depends on who you are.
No, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got something to raise, just in case you're wondering. Your third year, if you're an Erasmus student, your third year, it doesn't count towards your degree in terms of if we scrape past and the credits got abroad, or if we get a really high mark abroad, it doesn't matter, you still get just the credits, you don't get a distinction or a 2-1 or a pass. But what you do get is a portfolio, which is very important to bring back and show Mike. He will take that portfolio into his marking, which he does for your degree. But the credits you do obtain, as long as you pass them, to what degree you score, it doesn't matter. So if you're in second year now, then you're weighted more in second year as opposed to those who stay in Bristol. If that makes sense.
Anything else? Anything? Anyone?
For anyone interested in looking more on the work, I've got all my work here that I've done on all the subjects, so you could feel free to have a look if you want.
Is there anything else? Yeah, cheers, chaps. Thanks very much. Cool. Thank you, everyone.